Mark Stark, the one and only. And he needs no introduction, so I'm going to pass you right over to him.
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me in. Always fun to, talk about the past and present and future. So, we talked earlier about just sharing my overall story. So why don't I just start off on what brought me to Las Vegas. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. And right after high school, I came to Las Vegas to go to hotel management school. That's ultimately what brought me here. Didn't know what I wanted to do, but I love people, and so I started down that road, and was fortunate enough to get a job in the hotels to work my way through college, and learned very quickly that hotel work wasn't going to be my future. However, it certainly paid the bills and helped me afford to take care of college. Well, when all my buddies were graduating and taking jobs in different hotels around the country and the world, I didn't want to do that. Didn't know what I wanted to do. And my other roommate in college, who also wasn't going to go into the hotel business, said, well, why don't we get a real estate license? We both loved Las Vegas. We said, why don't we do that? So I said, sure, let's do that, and we can go for beers afterwards. Because it was kind of a very casual conversation. I went to what they called career nights. And in listening to the different speakers, it was evident that it was something that was really in my wheelhouse and something that I could absolutely enjoy doing. And that's really what started my career. I was 21 years of age, and specifically Mark Masevic, who was one of the speakers and one of the owners of, at that time called the Americana Group, was just incredibly impressive. And I was really inspired to jump into real estate, and that's what I did. And I sold real estate for about 7 years. Right before that 7-year mark, Mark Masevic came to me and said, we're opening up a new office. Would you be willing to do something, train or whatever for the new office? I said, sure.
What year was that, if you don't mind me asking?
That I started in 1985, so that had to be, I would say, 91. Around 91. And in fact, I relocated. I was living on the east side of town, and I relocated to the west side of town because that's where the new office was opening. And I still was selling full time. The difference was I was also training for that office. I'll never forget. My clear paycheck was $433 a month.
Wow.
To train. So clearly, that's why I stayed into real estate, and I was doing extremely well, so it was perfect. Gave me a little bit of a way to give back, also did not injure my income. And that went on for about 8 months. Then after that, Mark and Jack and Steve, who were the owners of the company, let one of the managers go back in the Henderson area. And Mark came to me and said, look, you couldn't sell anymore, and we'll sit down and we'll work out compensation, but I'd love you to be the new manager of this new office. And it was a really small office, and he said, I will let you grow this office as big as you want. Right? And I sat down with him, we looked at the numbers based on success, and it was something that I was very interested in doing, and that's what I did. And I relocated again back to the other side of town, and started managing that office, and we basically moved from that location to a much bigger location, and we took that office from the lowest producing office in the company to the highest producing office in 3 years.
And that was roughly about 91.
That had to be now closer to, I would say, 92, 92 where I got into the office. And then I managed for a little over 5 years that office. And at that time, really, I saw myself being a manager of that office forever. That's where I was going to retire. People ask me all the time, where your career went. Did you have a plan of attack, and was this your vision? Absolutely not. No way. But there was something that was ingrained in me, and that is, if you're doing the right things every single day, all right, opportunity comes. Now, you can make a choice to jump on that opportunity or not, but it's going to show up. And the company had a tragedy. Mark Masevic got hurt in a skydiving accident. He was the jump master for all of Nevada. And in a freak accident, someone parked car in the jump zone, and he hit it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So, almost died, lived through it, wasn't the same. And after that accident, seeing what happened, Mark came back, but again, it was different. I said, we need a general manager for the company, and I felt I could do it. And I wrote a 7-page report, and I gave it to Steve Schneider, who I believe shared it with Jack Woodcock. And at that opportunity, that's when I became the GM for the company. And that was a whole new endeavor for me. But I loved it. But there was a lot of lessons that went along with that. I'll give you one. When I started as a general manager, I really was failing at the beginning. And I learned that I was extremely good at doing things myself, but where I was faltering was helping somebody else achieve those same results. So I really stepped back. I sat with a mentor of mine, and he gave me some great insight. He said, you're able to skip steps. So you can go from step 1 to step 7 instantly in your own head, but not everyone can do that. So when you have expectations on people who are working with you or for you, that you get frustrated because they're not getting done what you would get done. Well, guess what? You ineffectively train them because you want them to go from step 1 to step 7 like you can, and they can't. So that was a really great epiphany for me. I stepped back and I really started training each and every step that I wanted to see come to pass. And that changed everything. So it really gave me an opportunity to see which people were really set to succeed, who wasn't set to succeed. And I felt comfortable at that time that I was really giving the proper training and support for someone to succeed in leadership that's working under my tutelage at that time. And we consistently grew the company each and every year. And I was loving it. I really was. About 2 years into being GM, one of the partners wanted to be bought out, which was Steve Schneider. And he came to me and said, this is what I'm looking for. And I said, well, let me work on putting that together. Long story short, we did. And we put that together. And that's the first chance that I got for ownership. I was already running the day-to-day operations of the company. But at that point, I got to get in for basically sweat equity to have an ownership piece in the company going from that point forward. And so we just kept growing the organization at that time. And at that time it had to be close to now getting into the mid to later 90s. And in 1999, 1999, Prudential, which we were affiliated with as a franchisee, decided to get out of the real estate business and sell the franchise to GMAC. And in selling the franchise, after doing some homework, we realized we were not on the same page as GMAC. And we went, I'm sorry, and I apologize, that was a mistake. It was Better Homes and Gardens got out of the real estate business and to GMAC. We found Prudential at that time, and because we were not on the same page with GMAC. And we went in search for a new franchisor, and that was Prudential. And we went out, there was a Prudential brokerage already in the marketplace, so we purchased that brokerage and created an exclusivity in the marketplace in Las Vegas that you could not be Prudential unless you were with us.
That was a brilliant move.
Yeah, that was again another big growth strategy for our organization. Not only the acquisition, but we were fortunate to continue having growth. Now it wasn't exponential growth. That came later, but each year we grew as an organization. Now in 2001, so just a couple of years after that, though we were growing, it was a slow pace. And it was really a grind along those lines. And I went and I said to the managers, I said, listen, we're a straight traditional real estate company today. And I'm not seeing in the future that this is going to be a model that could perform long term. So we're going to find a model for this company that's really going to take us to the next level, or I'm going to sell, guys. And you know what? Take chips off the table and go from there. And I said, respectfully, I don't want any more of your tired ideas. I'm going to go to the agents and I'm going to find out what they want. Don't even know if I can provide it, but what do they actually really want? And we did this whole whiteboard project. You had to be producing real estate. So you had to be selling. Could be a brand new agent, but you had to have transactions all the way up to a top producer. And we basically interviewed a ton of different sales executives from different levels of production. And long story short, what came out of that is agents wanted to be the broker. They just didn't want to deal with all the crap that comes along with being the broker.
Right.
And that's when we transformed our company from a traditional real estate company to a business service company. What that ultimately meant is we started helping agents grow brokerages under the auspices of our company, so under the umbrella of our company, be it a brokerage of one agent or a brokerage of 21 agents. That was up to the agent themselves. Our job, regardless of size, was to help them grow their brokerage to wherever their goals wanted to take them. That change in model catapulted our growth. This was before what the industry calls today teams. We called a brokerage within a brokerage. And now, under that focus in the market, it took such hold that you would hear things like this. Well, if you want to grow a brokerage or you want to build a team, you got to be with Prudential. That's what those guys do. You got to be with Prudential. And anyone who was looking to grow a business within a business came to us. And it was a strong growth for about 3 years. And at that time, because the model kept showing how powerful it was, I said, you know what? This model works so well that I'm going to take it to other markets. And that was my goal. Well, one problem that I ran into was, if I was honest with myself, I was buried. So there's only 24 hours in a day. I don't care who you are. And I didn't have extra minutes. So how do people grow their companies? I don't get it. I'm working as hard as I can. Something's wrong, okay? And I called a really good friend and mentor, Kurt Anderson. He's also my CPA for the last 40 years. Brilliant guy, great thinker. And I said, Kurt, need your help. And I told him the story. I want to grow, but I don't have a second to spare. He says, all right, send me everything on your company. Give me a write-up of what each is so I understand it, because that wasn't his industry. I'm going to ask you a ton of questions. I'm going to evaluate it, and let's see if I can help find out where the issue is. We did exactly that. Asked a ton of questions. I gave him everything. Calls me up, I don't know, it's probably 3 weeks to a month later, and he says, look, I figured out the answer. Let's meet. I'm like, this is the best. So we set up a time. We sit down. I go to his office, and he goes, all right, you want to know what the problem is? I go, yes. He goes, you. You're the issue.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. He said, in everything you've given me, even the way you present it, it's very clear that you believe this is the only way to do this task, business, program, whatever it is, all right? Otherwise, it won't work. So what you've done is you've basically strapped yourself down with your processes, your systems, and your belief systems along those lines. He says, so we're going to need to change those if you're ever going to have a chance to grow outside of this market. And he said, honestly, Mark, to even grow anymore, okay, it's now taxing you because of the way you choose to believe and run this organization. And I took that very seriously and with an open mind, and I said, great, then let's fix me. And we went over all these different ideas along what changes could be made. And it really, probably the biggest changes, the systems and the processes changed automatically once my beliefs changed. And I just changed what I believed. And so in doing that, everything else fell into place. In fact, it fell into place so effectively that not only could we grow? But I could see that I can grow exponentially. I could be in all 50 states if I wanted to. I now understood the formula for growth. Doesn't mean I wanted to be in all 50 states, but I could grow. The next step for me was determining where I wanted to grow, how big we wanted to get, how did this affect your overall life and other goals and travel. But I wasn't able to grow if we wanted to. And that's really where it went from that point.
Could you give us a little bit more of an example, not the whole thing, because there's probably things that your belief system you want to maybe keep to yourself. But Mark, what was one of the core beliefs that you had that you're telling yourself, you know what, I need to change this, because if I don't change this, then I won't grow. Could you give us just a little bit on that?
Sure. I mean, one that just pops right into my mind immediately is there was a ton of things that I had to do personally, because no one's going to do it like I do it. You know, and if I let someone else do it, it's just not going to be effective. One of those was my schedule, controlling my schedule, making all the appointments. No one was going to control my schedule but me. All right. I changed that. It was like life opened up to me. It just, that one little change. And it was a bunch of changes along those lines that I felt had to be done in that way. The way I communicated to agents. All right, what did I need to do versus what could be handled by management? What could be handled by staff? What could be handled by the agent with better support? So it just opened my mind up to all these new ways of thinking and new opportunities and new processes, where before I didn't need new processes. I've got the only one that works.
Right.
And that's what was basically shackling me. And so that mindset continued with virtually every system. So now I asked myself different questions. I would ask myself, okay, how can this be done and who can do this? Not how am I going to do this and do it effectively? All right. It was just a very different aspect. You know, we all have beliefs and we don't realize how much they are holding us where we're at. All right.
That is true. Let me get into that a little bit with you. There is something called the Peter Principle that we learned in university, and basically that Peter Principle, the way it works, is you get to a station in management, in business, and then you're an expert at that station. But then you get promoted, and then all of a sudden you're really good at the next promotion, and then you get promoted. Now you're the CEO. And you're doing a good job, but you're not 3 levels back where you were the man, okay? And then as people get promoted, that's what happens. The Peter Principle, it's they start going downhill, okay?
You're promoted over your ability.
And Steve Jobs, one of his famous philosophies was always hire the people that don't need to be managed. Hire people that will follow the system that you employ, but don't need you. And what's crazy is that's where I think you went. You know, you started looking at yourself. You went, look, I want to do this, but I'm not doing this. And to me, it seems like you went to self-reflection, and you actually asked for help. And I can tell you, Mark, that is a huge thing about you, is that you're able to sit back, look at the situation, and say, I need some advice. And you know, you got so far that your ego may have been at that point, I don't need advice. I'm a champ. I'm the champ of Vegas. This is my world. Most people wouldn't have done what you did.
Well, listen, we could talk about that subject for a long time. You know, ego, I think, can be used effectively, or it can be extremely damaging. And some people do. They let their ego, run amok. And it does slow you down. And it does, everyone's on their own journey. And sometimes you need that lesson to get slapped down. And then you learn the hard way. There's 3 ways to learn. You learn from your own mistakes, which we all do, hopefully. Secondly, the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. I can skip over making it. I can see, okay, that's not a smart move, but I don't need to make it because he or she already did. And then there's the third category that no one ever wants to be in, and that is they just never learn. No matter what it is, they make the same ultimate mistake, even though it's in a different circumstance. It's the same hole that they keep getting in, and they wonder why, they never get further. The other piece, going back, first of all, on what Steve Jobs said, I believe in that 100%. I think that's a beautiful thing. Two things to that point, though. The other thing I learned, what was really powerful, is you can't hire to what the business needs. You have to hire to the strengths of the person, which ties a little bit into that same scenario, because we fall into a trap. Okay, here's what I need. So I'm looking for somebody who can do this, this, and this. Right there is the wrong thought process. What you want clarity on what you need. But then it goes, who are the people who can do this? Is it going to be one person? Hopefully, but it may not be. And you really got to be open to the fact that, because to your earlier point, when you've got the right person in the right seat on the bus who's damn good at what they do, all right, at that task, no one's going to be better, because they're meant to do it. Their strength is there. It's great. When you, because you need it as a company, place someone in doing something that is their weakness, it's a tragedy for them and for the company, because you don't get results. And then you start putting pressure like, hey, come on, I depend on you. And I've always depended on you. What's up? And what's really up is you put me in a position that you should have never put me in. And some employees can handle that and some can't. The toughest part is telling someone you're not ready, or that position is not going to be a position that will serve you or the company well. The other aspect that was really powerful, I was in a presentation one time with the CEO of Porsche. He had taken over Porsche when Porsche was in dire straits and turned the whole company around. Not a car guy at all. Didn't know anything about cars. But he certainly knew people. And one of the things he said that I never forgot, he said, if you're trying to build your company with extraordinary people, he said, good luck. Because there's not enough extraordinary people out there for you to do it. And if they're that extraordinary, they ain't working for you. They're blazing their own trail. He goes, great leadership is able to take ordinary people and create extraordinary results. And I never forgot that. In fact, I get goosebumps with that, because it's so, so true. When you put the right people in the right seats on the bus, they can succeed. And they're an ordinary person that is really good at A and B. And guess what? I have them doing A and B. I'm not going to let them do C. Why? They're lousy at it. Okay? They do not have that skill set. I wouldn't do that to them, and I'm certainly not going to do it to the organization. So in that aspect, those belief systems were really powerful for me to help help the company continue to grow. And listen, anyone who thinks you're ever done learning, and I mean this respectfully, I pity them. You're never done learning. The rule of thumb is every 5 years you look back at how you thought, and so many things have changed. And that is so true. Where you really want to get to is you're always curious. You're always asking questions. And to your earlier point, you got to have your ego in a drawer. We all have an ego, right? We all have an ego. The kicker is do you manage it, or does it manage you? It's like our insecurities. Do you manage it, or does it manage you? Right? So we all have them. But unmanaged insecurity, unmanaged ego, which is also an insecurity, I don't know of anything more damaging, because you're not making decisions for the right reasons. You're making decisions out of a feeling that is just fictitious, and it's a weakness that I've been very sensitive to, and I manage it on an ongoing basis.
In that point, you're an unbelievable leader, and I think one of the things that I've seen personally is you're a good picker of men, and I think that is crucial in business, that you can see what a potential is. Even what you said made that point. Like, most people wouldn't know if they were going to be good at A or B. You wouldn't do C, right? But it does take a leader to see what A needs to be, what B needs to be, and the person that you pick to do that. And also, you can maybe address this. I think, and this is personal and just business that I've studied, that you need to be quick to get rid of those people that don't fit A, B, or C.
Yeah, and full disclosure, if I had to pick one of my biggest weaknesses, and it's one that I never did master, and that is hiring slow. I'm good at. I can take the time, do the interviews, make sure I've got somebody with the right strengths to do a job. Where I falter is I let them stay in the position longer than they should. I think it's just I have this innate love and thought process that given the right opportunity, you're going to do well. And I can help you, even if I have to change exactly what you're doing to fit your strengths. It's a mistake, and it's not effective for a myriad of reasons. But that was, again, one of my weaknesses that I'm aware of, and I will say I'm better at it today than I used to be. But I would, if you had to categorize it, I would still put it in the weakness category. Hope's not a plan. And I fall into, in that example, more, okay, I hope he or she will make it. And let me spend more time with them. Let me see where I can help. And it really doesn't change. It really doesn't change. You know, if it's somebody who actually needs help, it's a different circumstance. It's a different challenge. It's a different issue. And you know, it's not an issue of, are they going to make it? They are. They need to tweak these items, and you can help them do that. It's not the same when you have the wrong person. They're just stuck.
So you advise people to maybe cut the wrong person, or
I would say absolutely.
Quickly?
You know, it was easier for me when I managed an office. We would cut 15, 20 agents a month, independent contractors. That was easy. It was, for me, leadership, someone that you built rapport with, my direct reports. It was harder for me. And I learned some valuable lessons around those. And I got better at it because I saw that, wow, you're going to let yourself get slapped in the face again with those types of scenarios. So I got better at it, but I still can improve in that aspect of it. But I'm very sensitive to it. I know what's going on. And so it helps me. You know, in real estate, we always learn that you make your money on the buy, not the sell. Well, it's the same way with hiring people. You make your money on the hire, not on the back end. So if you hire better, you hire well, those problems are mitigated. And that's really where I really try to do it in a big, big way. And that can be challenging because it takes time. Sometimes the time you need someone and the time the right person comes along, those time frames don't always match up. So you got to deal with that.
well said. And your ability to look at the battlefield, decide where you want to put your soldiers or people, your subordinates that are going to report to you, has obviously panned out from what I can see.
Well, one of my, and this I call one of my superpowers, in fact, and I know we're going to talk about Star Gundam, our new organization. You know, I just did a whole presentation on clarity. I've always considered it a superpower. Clarity, there's many items that can fall into a category of what you need to be successful, but clarity is number one. Without clarity, you don't know what to do, right or wrong, even if you're productive. Without clarity, productive people go in the wrong direction very effectively. Very effectively. They are going in the wrong way, rocking. And that's why clarity is so important in all aspects of life. Clarity affects personal, it affects family, it affects business, it affects investments, it affects future. Everything you do, you need clarity in. And I am now at a point, and I've been this way for a long time, it's the first thing I think about. Every question drives me back to, are you clear? Absolutely clear. And the worst thing to do, it's like having a conversation with someone. If you have a conversation, and let's say with an employee, it's bad to not be on the same page, certainly. But you know what's worse? Thinking you're on the same page and you're not.
That makes sense.
And so and You can do that with yourself. Okay, this is what I want, but it's not what you want. But you believe, and the sad part of it is for all of us in our own brain, we don't have the other person fighting back. You know what? I believe this is a good move. I agree, Mark. I agree, Mark. Okay, because it's all happening in my own head. So you have to have the strength to question your beliefs and to re-verify, asking tough questions, staying curious, going back to it, going, you know what? This is speaking to me now. I'm clear. And when you get there, it's an amazing feeling and it's an amazing tool. What's great about clarity, one of the most powerful benefits of clarity is when you make a bad decision, but you have clarity, you can stop it really quick. Clarity tells you there's a problem, okay, in short order. So even if you make a mistake, it's okay, because it's not damaging, because because you're so clear on what should be happening and it's not. But when you're not clear, you just keep going. Keep going. Okay, tweak this, change this, do this, when realistically, you're going in the absolutely wrong direction, but you don't know it, and nor are you looking to know it. You'll learn the hard way when you've put yourself in a situation where either you're financially strapped now, you're exhausted, you missed an opportunity in a market, okay, because you waited so long, because you were going down the wrong direction. There's a myriad of things of why not having clarity can slap you in the face. I know that.
Can you give us an example of where you had missed an opportunity because you weren't clear, or that you actually were clear and you had an opportunity?
Sure. Well, I can come up with different programs that we did at the company and getting clear of, why is this something we did? Okay, so let me give you an example. I was absolutely clear after doing homework, asking those tough questions, that we are not a technology company. We are not. I'm not a technology guy. I don't understand it. That is not my expertise. It is not my strength. So all these different brokerages was going down the technology road. We made a decision. We will never, ever do that. Why? Because we don't understand it. I can't keep up. And we would be pitched on all these different aspects. That was, in many ways, where the industry was going. But we weren't going to do it because we were not technology guys. So what was the alternative? What it took us is to go, we have to find third parties only that can bring to the company what they needed, and to the sales executives of what they needed, and then hold them accountable to stay relevant. Because technology moves so quickly, you say, oh my God, we got to go with ABC company. They are amazing, and they are. But you know what? If they're not good at staying relevant and continuing to upgrade, they were awesome 6 months ago. Now they're old hat, and they're not what you need anymore. Well, we would be very clear with our vendor partners. You will stay relevant, because let me help you out. I'm telling you this up front. As soon as the sales executives stop loving you, I stop loving you. It's nothing personal. So if I was you, I would work very hard on staying relevant, so you're always important to the growth of their business, because if they love you and you're important to their growth, I'm going to love you no problem. So that was a strong example. And there's smaller ones that happen every day of things that, you're going to hire somebody. Why do we need this person? What is this person going to do? We're buried. We need more in this aspect of the company, in this division. We need more people. Okay, let's talk about it. Sometimes after doing homework and asking questions, it came up that, we needed another person. Totally get it. And that person is going to specifically do A, B, and C. Got it, approved. We go through that same thing and go, no, you don't need another person. In fact, I know this is going to turn your stomach, but I really feel you have one person too many in the way that you're doing things. So we're going to switch in how you're doing things. We're going to give you support that you don't have today with another aspect already in the organization, and we're going to be able to look at cutting a person. We're not going to do it right away, but we'll look at it. Gordon Miles was amazing at that scenario. He was able to look at the overall situation and really, him and I could sit down and evaluate. And listen, my job as CEO was to push back when, the answer is not always cut. You're never going to cut your way to success. I don't believe in that, specifically in our business. Maybe there are businesses that cutting is more effective. In our business, there's two sides to every income statement. There's revenue and there's expenses. In my view, you want to control and manage expenses, but never at the cost of revenue. So you want to grow revenue and control and master expenses based on your growth. And then, you know what? Over time, that growth will put parameters that you need more staff, you need more support, you need more infrastructure. It's a beautiful thing. But sometimes people cut and they're not even thinking about revenue, because revenue is future income. So people don't think about, well, if I make this cut, I'm going to save X thousands of dollars this month. Guaranteed. That's true. But you may give back 10 times that in revenue. I'm very sensitive to that. And I look at both. And I've had, powerful conversations with, in the past, Gordon and different staff members to say, no, we're not cutting there. Because I get why you'll save it in that division, but you'll take the knees from another division.
Right. That makes sense. So what are your plans now for the future, Mark? Or what are you doing now?
Well, in middle of 21, we sold the company to Berkshire Hathaway. And people don't realize they're the largest brokerage in units, closed units, on the planet.
Wow.
They close more transactions on the planet than any brokerage anywhere.
Wow.
And so this is a core business for them. When we made and at that time my wife has recently passed.
I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences, Mark.
Thank you. But I remember sitting down with my wife saying, is this, this is something I'm considering, and my wife was really clear, is this something that you want? And long story short, it was something that I was finally ready to do. And so I did not know what I wanted to do. Took off probably only about 6 months. I enjoy working. I enjoy being busy. I'm not someone who's going to sit at home no matter what. And so I went in search of, but I didn't know what it really needed to be. And I had a friend who I had met at a conference that I was speaking at, and we hit it off. He's an amazing guy. His name is Andrew Undum. He's my partner in the new business. And he had an amazing ability. First of all, he was an insatiable learner. So he just, no matter what level he was at, and he's number 4 in all of Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. He just learns and learns and learns and tweaks what he's doing and adds it in and takes the best and leaves the worst. He's amazing at that. And so we hit it off virtually instantly. Well, he called me. This is now about a year ago. And he said to me, he goes, Mark, you have any plans of what you're going to do? And I said, not right now, not at this time. He said, well, I would like to do something around training, and I would love to do it with you. And I said, you know what, give me a week, and I'll call you back. And he tells me now, he goes, I didn't think you were going to call me back. And I did. And I said, I have a model that I think is broken in our industry. And if you're interested, I'd like to go over it with you, and I'd be very interested in doing it together. And for me, it's, the training and coaching industry, I think needs to be a revamp. And I think, what the fees that are charged for all aspects of it. And I'm not beating up on anyone. I'm just saying it's extremely expensive, in my opinion, for the actual value you receive.
Right.
And so we wanted to bring something to the industry that could help sales executives, not only in the direct sales aspect, but certainly including direct sales, but in personal development, in wealth building, in leadership, in marketing, in technology, all the things that really affect people's lives and business, we wanted to bring to sales executives at an incredibly affordable price. And so we've started a company that has a simple annual fee. It's $997 a year, and you basically get ongoing mentorship by myself and Andrew, plus also Matt Mullen is our chief operating officer, and he runs the whole thing, and he's also the top agent for Nevada.
Right.
And so we've got everyone who's very skilled in the areas that we're looking at. And, we're not upselling. We don't do coaching. This is all online, ongoing mentorship and access. If people would like access to myself, like access to an Andrew, want access to Matt Mullen, and future experts that we're going to be bringing in. That's what this is all about, and it will continue to evolve and change. We want to build a large community of people that we can all row in the same direction, even though we have different goals. And this is it for me. This is where I'm going to put my time and effort, mentoring the people in the industry that want access and want the support.
Sounds like a great thing. I think our business does need that, Mark. I'm
Yeah,
glad you
thank you.
brought it. I'll put some stuff in the comments, and so maybe it can help a little bit.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming.
Really appreciate it. I hope this was, valuable on some insight, and hopefully they enjoyed the journey. And mine continues to go on, and I look forward very much to the future. And I appreciate the time here today.
Well, thank you for being on this show, Mark.
My pleasure.
All right, thanks for coming, everybody, and we'll see you soon.